The next First Lady of the United States, Elizabeth Dole.
Thank you so much.
Meet Elizabeth Dole.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
She's charming.
I like to get up close and have a conversation with you.
She's accomplished.
And I am planning to go back to the Red Cross as president when my husband's elected president.
She's nice.
You are so sweet. Isn't she pretty?
And all that matters when you're the candidate's wife. But this year, what seems to matter most is that she's not Hillary.
She will not be in charge of health care. She'll not be in charge of health care. She'll not be in charge of health care. Don't worry about it. I've already worked that out.
I'm Leslie Stahl. Those stories and Andy Rooney tonight on 60 Minutes. This election year may, just may, turn out to be one where who the candidate's running mate is less important than who the candidate's wife is. There are no exit polls to measure it, but there's little doubt that Bob Dole's wife played a part in his strong showing yesterday in South Carolina.
The next First Lady of the United States, Elizabeth Dole.
Thank you so much.
Meet Elizabeth Dole.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
She's charming.
I like to get up close and have a conversation with you.
She's accomplished.
And I am planning to go back to the Red Cross as president when my husband's elected president.
She's nice.
You are so sweet. Isn't she pretty?
And that matters when you're the candidate's wife. But this year, what seems to matter most is that she's not Hillary.
When she is First Lady, she will not be in charge of health care. She'll not be in charge of health care. She'll not be in charge of health care. Don't worry about it. I've already worked that out.
And it's one of Bob Dole's biggest applause lines, and one he repeats constantly, maybe because Elizabeth Hanford Dole has so many similarities to Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Hillary Clinton's one thing, but look at Elizabeth Dole.
Both were president of their college student governments. Both went to prestigious law schools, Mrs. Dole to Harvard, and both had more impressive. She was President Reagan's Secretary of Transportation, President Bush's Secretary of Labor, and now she's president of the American Red Cross. You've been compared to Hillary Clinton so many times. You both went to Ivy League law schools. You both have these incredible resumes. But people say, yes, that may be true, but Elizabeth Dole is not threatening. Do you know what they're talking about?
I'm not sure this is what it means, but what I've always felt is that women should be themselves, be feminine. In other words, you don't have to make yourself over in the image of a man. And I'm not saying at all that Hillary Clinton has done that, but my own view has been just be yourself. We asked Doris Kearns Goodwin, the presidential and First Lady historian, about Elizabeth Dole.
Unlike Hillary, she doesn't project the kind of anger or anxiety or jealousy toward her. And I think that's almost a chemical thing. Liddy Dole manages to camouflage that ambition and seem to be just sort of, oh, these things just happened to me. I just happened to become a cabinet member.
She's very soft around the edges, and she's very easy to take, and she's very friendly.
I think that southern charm goes a long way for a woman in making it not seem like she's some northern driving Yankee woman.
So what do you think of Hillary?
I think she's a very bright, capable person who is dedicated to what she believes is best for the country. I don't agree with her on a lot of the issues.
To make doubly sure she's not seen as another Mrs. Clinton, Mrs. Dole announced that if she's First Lady, she's going to work full-time at her job at the Red Cross.
So they gave me a leave of absence and said, when you become First Lady, come back as President of the Red Cross, which is literally three minutes from the White House.
How did you arrive at this decision that she keep her job at the Red Cross? And why did you come to that?
I think that's something she decided, and we talked about it, and I think it made a powerful statement. Now, not everybody agrees with it, but my view is it speaks volumes as far as I'm concerned.
Right, the volumes are. And it seems pretty obvious when you talk about it on the stump. This is the un-Hillary. This is not going to be Hillary Clinton.
Well, I always joke about she'll not be in charge of health care.
Well, what do you think won't get done? What First Lady functions?
Knowing Elizabeth, they'll all get done.
What are the functions that a First Lady, I'm not talking about Hillary, but Nancy Reagan or Barbara Bush, what did they do that you're not going to do because you're going to be working at the Red Cross?
I think I'll be doing everything they've been doing, but also a full-time day job. I think I can certainly still plan state dinners, do the things that you're required to do,
Then she turned the tables on me.
Let me suggest this. We've said that we think there will be a woman president in our lifetime. Now, if you were interviewing the potential first spouse, the husband, would you be suggesting that he might not have time to continue his career if his wife's elected president?
Pat Buchanan once told me that it goes against God's will when women go out to work.
I cannot imagine what he's thinking. And as a matter of fact, there are women in the Bible who work.
She's been dealing with men's opinions of women ever since Harvard Law School.
You were what, one of
24 women in a class of 550. But the first memory that I have, one of my male classmates walking up to me and saying, "Elizabeth, what are you doing here? What are you doing in this law school? Don't you realize there are men who would give their right arm to be here, men who would use their legal education?" Those were the first words that I heard, and of course that's forever emblazoned on my mind.
Did that make you a feminist?
You know, I'm not sure what that word means anymore.
Don't duck it.
I really don't know. If it means that you're, you know, you belong to a movement and you have sort of a prepackaged set of views that are handed to you from the political correctness club, then I'm not. But I'm a great believer in equal opportunity for women, to provide opportunities to them and to help train them so they can compete.
She grew up in the small town of Salisbury, North Carolina, the daughter of a successful florist. Her 94-year-old mother still lives in the house where Elizabeth was raised. They are best friends and talk on the phone every day, no matter where she is on the campaign trail.
Hello?
Hi.
Hey,
How
sweetie.
are you doing today?
Oh, just fine.
Great.
Growing up in Salisbury, Elizabeth took ballet lessons and equestrian lessons and went to debutante balls. But she loved politics almost from the beginning.
Actually from the 3rd grade, when I was elected president of the Bird Club.
President of the Bird Club?
Of the Bird Club, right. That was my first political office.
At Duke, the 3rd grade president of the Bird Club was president of student government and the May Queen. Then she shocked her family by announcing she wanted to go to law school.
What I heard was that you told your mother you wanted to go to Harvard Law School, and she said, "Well, that's nice, dear." She stood up, went into the bathroom, and threw up.
It wasn't quite like that. I remember Mother and Dad saying, "Well, we really wouldn't advise it, but if that's what you really want to do, we'll support you." Then during the night, she was ill, and I had a feeling that maybe she was wondering what is happening to my daughter.
You made your mother
I really did want you to come home and live next door.
Instead of coming home and living next door, she moved to Washington and started her career as a Democrat working for Lyndon Johnson's Great Society. She says she's always been conservative, although she didn't register as a Republican until about the time she married Bob Dole in 1975. She was 39, he was 52. Over the years, she worked for 5 different presidents, and it was during that period
I came to realize my life was threatened with spiritual starvation.
in the early 1980s, Mrs. Dole had a spiritual awakening. She tells Christian groups it came after she realized that her chronic perfectionism and workaholic habits had crowded everything else out of her life.
And it's very hard, you know, to try to control everything, surmount every difficulty, foresee every problem, realize every opportunity. That can be pretty tough on your family, your friends, your fellow workers, and on yourself.
I've been working on that, though.
What do you mean?
Well, she gets, I've been telling her, you don't have that much time in your life to do everything 100%. I mean, you do good work at 90% sometimes, or 95%. And I think she's much more relaxed now.
And then next we've got the interviews coming up. We've got all that material.
Well, we need just a couple minutes, so.
Okay.
She once wrote that her perfectionism was so consuming it was a tyranny.
I think we just jot it down real quick there.
And although she has worked on being more relaxed, aides say she still tends to rehearse everything, wake up in the middle of the night to make lists, and memorize briefing books. She always likes to be in control, and was when we were with her, except for a few times. I had agreed that if I slipped and called her by a childhood nickname she didn't like, we'd edit it out. When I inadvertently used that name on a car ride in South Carolina, She not only corrected me, she said, in effect, "Don't do that again," and then turned away coldly.
Dole 96! Dole 96!
Like all political wives, she doesn't like to hear about or read about any marital conflicts.
How would you describe your marriage?
Beautiful, beautiful.
I told her about an article from the front page of USA Today.
You seen it yet?
No, I haven't.
It says that in Iowa, I'll read it to you. Before he went out to face the cameras in Des Moines, he blew up at his wife Elizabeth when she urged him once, too often, to be upbeat.
It is not true. It's not true.
It never happened?
It did not happen.
Front page of today's paper?
I wish that the press would verify. It would have been nice if someone had asked me, wouldn't it?
I'm asking you, what do you know
It
what
is
they're
not
referring
true.
to?
It is absolutely
not. Did he
not.
snap at you?
No, he did not.
Does stuff like this really get to you?
I think they're excesses. They're excesses.
Well, you know,
and the press has got to self-regulate, you know.
Pretty good stuff here.
But by all accounts, the Doles are a close couple. They don't make the rounds of the Washington party circuit. They like to rent videos and stay home at their two-bedroom apartment at the Watergate.
Do you go out shopping?
Yes, I do. I do. And Bob does too, both of us.
Bob Dole goes to the grocery store?
Oh, yeah, he sure does. He goes to Safeway.
You never had kids?
No. Our view was, of course, we married later in life, so we felt if it happens, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too.
Whether or not Little Rock, Arkansas wants them back, they're going to get Bill and Hillary back in January '97. Thank you very much.
How much do you want this?
I think that Bob would be a great president. When we're talking about
Elizabeth Dole.
I want it for the country.
What
because
about
we're
you?
talking about the future of the
What
free
about you?
world.
What about you?
I'm
How
happy.
much do you want this?
I think that it's an opportunity to serve, to make a difference for people, and I look forward to that opportunity. It's a platform from which you can really make a difference.
But that kind of fishbowl life, do you really want that?
You know, as I say, I think we've been in that fishbowl for a long time. But I'm used to intense scrutiny.
Good, if you come with the package, I'll vote for you.
Thanks.
The only question is, why aren't you running?
Oh, no, he's got...
This is the third time she has put her career on hold to help Bob Dole campaign for president.
He'll be a great president.
She's his top salesperson, and by all accounts, even his. She tells his story better than he does.
My husband was born in a small town in Kansas.
She's so well liked. They say she's a better candidate than you, sir.
Well, I think so. In fact, I got an anonymous note from a guy in Iowa saying, you stay in Washington, leave Elizabeth in Iowa, and you'll win.
Doesn't that sort of get at you a little bit when people say she's a better campaigner, she's a better communicator? You hear it all the time.
Right.
Well?
I think it's true.
And if all that campaigning doesn't pay off...
Could you support Pat Buchanan for president?
I'm not, again, going to speculate on anything other than Bob Dole being president, because that's where we are, and that's what I'm focused on.
Could you campaign for Pat Buchanan?
Leslie?
Yeah? Well, I just want to
No, really,
know.
I really don't want to speculate on what if, when I'm so convinced that Bob is going to win this race.
If he loses, how are you going to cope with that?
We're going to win. We're working very hard. We're focused, and I think Bob will be the next president of the United States.
There are those who say that if you weren't running this time...
She would be.
No, they say that she'd be on everybody's list for vice president.
That might be true. I mean, I really believe she has the ability, and she could do it, no doubt in my mind. And she has this way about her.
Would you ask her?
The two of us?
Yeah.
Well, we used to kid about it. We could close down the vice president's house. Look at the money we'd save. It'd be an economy move. The people would love it. And then I could work half-time, and she could work half-time. But I don't think the people are ready for another co-presidency.